Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Training, Learning, and Development community. Thanks for joining us. Let's see, we've got a couple people in this today. Let's see, Christiana's here and Bobby's here. Welcome. And our wonderful guest, Nadia Kader, is here. Oh, did I pronounce that correctly?
You did.
I did.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, I didn't even do that beforehand. Another member showcase. And we were actually kind of having a very interesting conversation right before we started, and I wanted to kind of carry it through. And you had mentioned that that this is an interesting project, just doing member showcases and things. And I really like what you said. You were like just sort of the people that are already out there, the ones that have really high profiles. Just sort of how it seems like some of what those folks do, like I guess it seems sort of unattainable, like being that out there. Is that what you were saying?
Well, yeah, I was saying because the people that we're exposed to, right, we're like, let's follow, Devlin Peck and Tim Slade, and they're actually really approachable people. Right. When you watch their videos, they're not super snooty or up there or anything, but the stuff that they make is so incredible. And I don't know if other people felt this way, but I've kind of felt like, wow, how can I ever get to that point? Yeah. But they've been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah. And that is really interesting. I love that, your sort of commentary on that, because I have, I came into this industry pretty much mostly with an IT background, and I didn't even know what instructional design was when I first started working for the e-learning guild. And I would meet all of these people at conferences, and all the speakers, those are the only people that I knew, and I had no clue that they were kind of within this space, sort of like celebrities and stuff. But it's all attainable. Like, I mean, that's one of the things that I love about being in this community is I see so many of the practitioners, and anyone that is just interested in just participating and getting going, you're pretty much like on your way there. So even just doing a member showcase like this, I think is a great way to sort of start just getting yourself out there and making improvements in your professional development and all that. So congrats, Nadia. Here you go. You're here.
Yes, I've made it. Yeah, and Cindy writes in the chat that we can all create on that level. And yeah, Cindy, you're absolutely right. It's kind of more of I guess I would just say perhaps an insecurity sometimes that we can feel that this is just so good. How can we do this?
Right. And I want to mention something too about that is sometimes I actually have to not look at LinkedIn because I get so intimidated. I start like thinking, oh man, what am I doing? I'm way over my head. And I get like major imposter syndrome because like, why do I think that I could actually even talk to somebody like Nadia right now? Like I actually like get these feelings of like, what gives me, like, what business do I have like trying to do this? But the thing is, when it comes to this community in particular, I really do feel like it's just important to just connect with people and talk to people and just find out like more about them, what drives them, sort of their backgrounds. And that's, for me, it's almost more journalism than it is anything else, I think.
Oh, yeah. I do have to mention, though, I really love this model. I said it in the green room. But I'm on the state board for my the New Mexico Adult Education Association, which I kind of got less than a year ago, relatively recently. And one of the things that we've been looking into is how to connect members from all around New Mexico, because New Mexico is a very low population. We have about 2 million people, but they're so spread out, and most people in the field of adult education do not connect together until COVID. And I've actually been looking at the showcase as a model because we're looking at different ways people connect. And I'm on the Slack channel. I follow yours. I follow a couple of others. I've been watching these videos, and I was thinking that this can be an excellent model for really any association, which is just common communication. And it's not a requirement. You offer it, whoever joins the membership, and you can just give people that platform to talk about what they're doing. And I have to say that I'm kind of trying to get it going, but we'll see in the next year or two.
Do it. Yeah, definitely do it. And if you need any help, let me know. I would be happy to help. I think that this is a great model too. And in fact, I just started talking to somebody locally that is doing like, he is working for the city council for the town I live in. And he's trying to push like some zero waste initiatives. And I'm like, dude, let's like, I do this thing with an online community, and if you want to get people together where we can talk about, some local things, then let's do it. Cause I think it could work. So try it. If I can help in any way, let me know. I would be happy to tell you what I've learned, the last, like I've been doing this for 4 years now. So, yeah. I
will definitely hit you up on that.
All right. Well, now let me start talking about Nadia, because I want to find out more about you and like, this how you got into learning and development and became an instructional designer. So like what was your journey into it like?
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of a winding road. So I was really doing a lot of jobs just to kind of keep myself in survival mode in New York. Because I'm from New York City. And I was just doing anything and then jumping ship whenever things got too awful, which is usually a really great strategy, I gotta say. Just keep job hopping until you find a job that is not so intolerable that you dread going to work. So I was doing that for a bit. And as I kept like trimming the line, I'm like, oh, this job sucks because ABC. Let me go to this other job. Oh, this job sucks because BCD. And keep going. And then I was like, well, maybe it's just these jobs aren't working for me. I was doing a lot of customer service. Kim says that honesty is refreshing. I'm a very honest person, so be careful of that. But so I was doing a lot of retail and customer service. I got into coffee, so I was a barista. I love coffee, but it's not so much working with people. I couldn't see myself opening my own business someday. So I was teaching on the side at this community-based organization in New York called the Brooklyn Public Library. So they have their own learning center where they help students get their high school equivalency. Or in New York, they use the task test. So I really loved it, but it was so non-sustainable. So I was looking for other ways I can leverage my, learning, because I love to learn. I love exploring things. And I just found a bunch of accidentally kind of, it's just thinking about how content is created that the teachers use and thinking about what that looks like and how that can look in other forms. So I actually took a lot of LinkedIn learning videos because with your library card, you have access to that. Mm-hmm. It's free.
Yes.
So I did a bunch of that, and I started looking for people with an instructional design background with that title. So I connected with a bunch of people on LinkedIn and just said, exactly, I'm just following, what's going on. If you have any advice, I had about 3 or 4 informational interviews with people, which I'm sorry, I don't remember their names except for Kara North, who is super helpful. And she's also someone who's top of her game and really leveraging her knowledge and bringing it to people via LinkedIn and other sites.
Yeah.
So as I'm learning all this stuff, I'm still teaching, and I'm trying to figure out how to get to, let's stop doing coffee shops, working 6 days a week. Let's figure out a way to get this done. And I really like the Southwest. My partner and I have been here a few times, and we're like, this place is so chill. So I just started applying for jobs in the Southwest because I was like, oh, I don't know. New York is killing me. And my partner was like very straightforward. It was like, Nadia, you're not going to get anywhere unless you start applying for jobs and really thinking about what you want to do. So I applied for this job. I got a full-time job as a teacher, like immediately.
Wow.
Because I knew a lot of online skill, like how to use from those programs and also from my teaching, because it was during COVID. So everyone had to learn how to teach online. And I knew how to use Google Classroom really well and how to teach and using certain platforms. So they kind of like were really interested that I knew how to do this stuff. So I got a full-time teaching job, moved to New Mexico. And actually, I haven't announced this yet to my colleagues, is that I was recently promoted to instructional coordinator and designer.
Wow.
Because while I was teaching, I was also taking on projects. So I was really thinking about instructional design a lot. I was like, how can I get this into adult ed? So I volunteered. So I was building stuff. I actually created a self-paced course on Google Classroom for students to learn about careers, because generally speaking, people who don't have a high school diploma, they're not really exposed to different kinds of careers. And sometimes they usually go for like what someone they know is doing, or something that pays really well. Which isn't, and I don't know if anyone else felt this way, but usually just going for the job that pays the most money doesn't always work out for you in the end. Generally, some people are really lucky and it works out, and that's excellent. But sometimes other parts of the job kind of get you, right? So I built that course. We called it the Career Pathways course, and we're still updating it and going through it. And then I just started taking on some extra projects, just learning how to build something and doing this research and showing the other teachers. And then I was like, this is a lot. It's a little much. So I was thinking about how my skill set can leverage my organization. So I actually wrote down a list of stuff I could do that isn't being done, that I know I could do, or at the very least learn how to do, and created a coordinator position and gave it to my supervisor. And we didn't have this position that exists before, and we're still hammering out the kinks. But basically, I was just like, I can do this, and I know I can do this. So, and this is what our org needs to grow. We're a tiny nonprofit that has like 6 people, and we're trying to build it. So I was like, here's my skill set. Why don't we try this out? And they gave it to me, and we'll see how it goes. Maybe, I don't know, maybe next year I'll have a unemployed Nadia showcase, but but we'll see how it goes. But my point is that how I got into learning design is really just doing things. Just seeing what I could do, how I could push into my schedule more, anything else I can learn, and how to apply it. And I think that's a huge it's just a huge thing, is just we can learn so much, but if you're not able to apply it in multiple settings, then it just kind of sits there, right?
Right.
So I was just having a lot of conversations about things I learned. A lot of the stuff that we do in learning design, for the most part, what's exposed to us through LinkedIn is corporate. So how to translate that corporate learning design into this nonprofit space and this education space, which for the most part in this country has largely been very isolated and tiny and underfunded.
Yeah. How was that challenge for you? Like translating that into, from the corporate side into something that would be like for a nonprofit.
Yeah. So how that's been a little challenging, because for the most part we have no money. So anything that we see that's really cool, it's like, does it cost anything? Whoops, no. No. So it's really thinking about the principles involved and the learning objectives and how we can change that. So it's been challenging, but I love challenges. I really jump for them. And if I could spend a couple hours a week just reading about this kind of stuff and really thinking about what is missing or needs to be improved upon, how can I take this knowledge, shove it in there, and just work on that? And that's kind of like the Google Classroom thing. It's like Google Classroom is not a learning management system. It is a very basic format that teachers use to just put in content. And how you do that can be radically different. It's so limiting, but within a limiting structure, you actually can be very creative.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful. I want to back up just a little bit, because Bobby is asking about the library card and having access to LinkedIn Learning. I know that that's available at my local library, and I live in a very small town in Northern California. And I'm not surprised in Brooklyn that that's the case there too. So I don't know if it's universal, Bobby. So I don't know have you heard that at all, Nadia? I'm not sure if all libraries offer LinkedIn Learning, but
I don't think it's all libraries, but if you go on your library's website and you look for their resources, it will tell you what they do there is available. Now, if you have a small county library, is there any way to be attached to a larger library system? Because there are some places that will have like a kind of like a county library, but then something a little slightly different, or maybe a nearer another county that has larger, more access.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So Bobby said there's no chance in connecting. You know what? No problem. I hope that works out. What else I found is sometimes Udemy would do like these, we'll have these a couple times a year. Well, they'll slash prices of courses down to like maybe $15 a course.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll buy like a couple in bulk and just save them on my platform.
Yeah.
You could also take Coursera classes without paying some of them by not being able to do the tests or anything. Like, so sometimes you could just take a course and kind of audit it, so you can watch the videos and get the reading. Mm-hmm. That's another way that you can just find a way to just, you know, teach yourself.
Right. No, those are great tips. I do the Udemy thing where I actually just use different logins to get like that intro price for certain things. But yeah, there are a lot of different ways to get in there, and there is just so much incredible stuff out there. And hopefully, Bobby, that you'll figure out a way to get that the library thing and LinkedIn Learning work, because that is a really, really great benefit. But check with your local library anyway. They might have other things latched onto it that, you know, that could be kind of special as well. So Nadia, I want to ask you about, you know, it sounds like you've been doing this instructional design thing for a couple of years. Is there anything, and it sounds like you've learned a lot, but is there anything you wish you had known when you had started out? Like anything in particular that you wish you had known early on, right when you were getting into it?
Oh man, I feel like I've kind of like my own journey.
Yeah.
Perhaps what I would like to wish is that learning design is not only stuck in the corporate place, like, because I was really actually toying with that idea that we'll have to leave nonprofit places in order to get a career. And sometimes I still do feel that way, but I don't really want to. I really like what I do. And I like the space I'm in. So what I would say is I would wish that there were other opportunities to learn about learning design in other spaces, because sometimes it could seem very similar because of what we're exposed to.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I'm really curious as to like what you do like about what you do in a nonprofit and about the space that you're in right now. What is it that you like?
Well, mine is a particularly special kind of nonprofit in that it's community based. While we do have, like, we rent space for a main building, all of our classes are actually in shared spaces in community centers, and with one at an elementary school. So we're kind of around the city a little bit. So what I really like about it is it just feels very connected. Like, I feel, even though I'm getting more into learning design and I'm leaving the classroom, I still am able to be connected to students because we have these meetings. We have what we call potlucks with them every 6 weeks. So we're working on structuring them so more students will come to them, and they can meet different types of people outside of their teachers. So what I like about being in that space is just feeling very connected to the community, and also feeling connected to the people above me, because they do make themselves available in the way that I see them very often, and we have conversations. And even though, of course, there's a hierarchy, it doesn't feel like there's someone I never met. Like in some spaces where I've worked, there would be like a higher up manager or like supervisor director that you don't even know who that person is. So then when they come, you're like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And then he has to have a bland conversation with you about teamwork or something, and then you don't see him for like 6 months, and it's just so like so detached. So
right.
What I really like about my space in particular is that I'm able to be community based and also structurally connected to people.
Wow. No, I enjoy that. I enjoy that type of thing too. Was there much of a culture shock for you when going from New York City to New Mexico? Are you in Albuquerque? Is that where you're at?
I am in Albuquerque, so I am in the largest city in the state.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's completely different. And what constitutes a city is also different because, you know, I grew up in New York City, so my idea of a city is very different than other places in America. And I gotta say, I was pretty ignorant on that. The fact that you can't walk everywhere was such a culture shock. Like I was just wanted to go to McDonald's last year and we didn't have a car yet. So it's like, okay, I want to try a Shamrock Shake. I never had one. So I was like, oh, this McDonald's is only like 10-15 minute walk from me. But I'm like walking on the side of a highway trying to get to this damn McDonald's because there's just It was so weird. I did end up getting the Shamrock Shake. I just didn't want to pay for an Uber. But one side had this like tiny little sidewalk. Yeah. And then there's just these huge roads and there's cars going constantly. So it could easily slip and then just fall into traffic. And it was so, it was ridiculous. But yeah, so that kind of culture shock, definitely. I've heard people say, I tell you what, like when they're getting really serious about talking or contextualizing, which I only heard from King of the Hill. So I was just like, I thought this was like a cartoon thing. And now I feel terrible. It's like, I tell you what.
Are you integrating it into your into your daily dialogue now?
You know, I try, but it's kind of hard without feeling a little silly because I didn't grow up here. So I kind of feel like I'm putting on a costume and I don't want to do that. Wow. But it's colorful. Yeah. One other huge culture shock and I don't know if there are other New Yorkers on here, is that people in New Mexico, of course, there are people that don't like New Mexico that grow up here, but when you meet the people that like New Mexico and grow up here, they actually like it. Like they're generally like seeing balloons in the early morning. They love the nature or like the food and stuff like that. But like in New York, I don't think people actually like New York. Anytime I've talked to a real New Yorker, all I've ever heard was constant complaining, which I do too. That's totally me. But it made me realize, like, when people like New York and they're from there, it shows very differently. And it's more like, well, the subway sucks, the food's terrible, there's garbage everywhere, I don't like seeing homeless people, but where else am I going to live? And that's like the mentality, is like everywhere else is worse. Yeah. So we have to be here. And seeing how different that is just like, no, I like New Mexico. I like, oh, it's tumbleweed season, or let's go walk on the bosque. It's just such a different, like more genuine kind of, I don't know if I say genuine, but just more amicable feeling about the space. Yeah. Where in New York, it's just usually anger.
That is great, Nadia. Oh man, thanks so much for sharing that. This is good stuff. So let me get back a little bit to some of your learning and development stuff. So how about what kind of projects you're currently working on?
Well, right now we're working on a phase 2 in revamping our career pathways course, which is implementing student feedback and trying to get it more interactive, which is limiting because of the space that we have to use with Google Classroom. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to work on that. I feel like I have so much on the back burner right now. I'm currently creating a volunteer training. So it's going to be like asynchronous with a synchronous component. So it'd be like which I am again using Google Classroom. Mm-hmm. So they'll learn about our org, learn about best practices in tutoring, how adult learners are different from K-12. And then once a month, they'll come into a space with me and then practice what they learn. So that's our general idea right now. We haven't ever had a kind of volunteer training like this. It was really more of like kind of a meeting or so, like 1 or 2 meetings with the director. But now it's kind of more trying to get the volunteers that we do get in, is to make sure that they are prepared. So we're working on that. I'm trying to use learn a little bit of graphic design. I don't want to say that, but because I'm not a graphic designer.
Yeah.
I've been using Canva and I'm I know someone's going to say in the chat, Canva is not graphic design. Yes, it's templates. I understand that. I'm going to work on moving up from graduating from that at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But we're trying to work on just getting people more, just how to get walk-ins, how to get people more interested in joining our program and getting their high school equivalency. So I'm also working on kind of marketing stuff. So I kind of just hobble together this role and I'm doing a lot of different things. Oh, Bobby writes Canva has a free design school conference. Oh, thank you. I'm going to look into that. Thank you, Bobby. So I made a couple of posters in Canva, and I'm definitely putting that in my calendar. Thank you again, Bobby. And I'm actually working on creating business cards and just trying to create an image, a brand image of our school, and that is easily recognizable, because generally speaking, how people find out is the biggest, org that does it, or they live in near a space where we have classes. So they'll probably see a sign or something like at a community center, or they'll go to like a big school and they can't get into the school, or it doesn't work out for them. And then the school will give them a list of other places that do GD. And it's like, that's not the best way to get foot traffic. So we're looking into other ways where we can get more foot traffic and also create just this brand image that people will associate with us outside of GD.
Yeah. And it sounds like you do a bunch of different things. You're not just like focused on one, sort of instructional design project at a time. It sounds like you're doing a little bit of marketing there. You're doing like operational things. It sounds like you do a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, that comes with the territory of nonprofit, where people wear a bunch of hats. But I actually do love that. And that's another thing I would miss in kind of a more corporate space, is kind of sticking to one type of role, because I love just playing around with so many different things and learning a lot.
No, that's great.
Yeah. So I'm doing a bunch of stuff. I'm also going to start a professional development project, just looking into how we can keep our teachers upskilled and stuff like that. So that's another thing.
No, that's great. You. So how about this? I mean, we talked a little bit about it before, but your own professional development endeavors, like, is there anything that you do specifically to help you stay on top of things in this space, or just keep yourself going? We heard about LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, and Coursera. Anything else that you do?
Yeah, definitely keeping abreast of communities, and because of the people on this, just on right now.
Yeah.
Definitely they know about it already. Being on Slack channels, signing up for email lists. And I know you guys probably do this, is not something new, but just keeping abreast of things has been so incredibly helpful. I've learned a lot just from YouTube too. Following certain personalities. So people that you follow on LinkedIn, if they do YouTube channels, if they do other kind of stuff, and sometimes they compile stuff too. Like, here's where I learned how to do ABC, right? And if you just follow these people and give yourself some time, a couple hours a week, like, you can definitely really change so much about what you're doing.
Nice.
Which is exactly what I do.
So who do you follow on YouTube? Is there anybody in particular you can throw out there?
Yeah, like I said before, I've been following Tim Slade. I love his quick videos, because he does this excellent, just sometimes 5 to 7 minutes on just a topic, and you can expand on that with, by just taking what he's talking about and just really searching and looking to see who else is doing it, and then getting into it more in depth. I also really liked Devlin Peck's videos. I've followed Kara North too. She also does different stuff. I'm actually pulling up my YouTube subscriptions just to remember, because I'm like attached to a bunch of stuff. Oh, sorry, e-learning launch. Also, I took some classes with e-learning launch. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Alex Salas, he's great. He's a great adventurous spirit too. I gotta say, make learning design dangerous. I love it. But yeah, just keeping on these things and seeing who's talking about what, and just really thinking about what you're interested in too. Because I'm not super negative on corporate, but I'm also not like super looking for people. But if you are, there are definitely people out there that have this online presence that you can follow and learn from. Totally. I would also say, Cindy writes Kath Ellis. Yeah, Kath Ellis is great too. There's just so many people out there doing so many like different things. And I think it's like really just a boon right now that we have this internet and we are able to do all this. Sometimes I'll like just check out some videos in the middle of the workday and I'm like, I'm having stuck on a project. I'm not sure what to do. I'll pull up, anyone that I'm having a subscription with and just like really think about what they're saying. And we have this access so easily.
No, I totally agree. And I feel like if there is something that you're focused on in your professional development, just those, subscribing to people on YouTube or even podcasts, email lists or whatever, just to keep that stuff top of mind is really, really helpful. Because I not only do it for TLDC, but like, I play music too. And so I also have this a regular sort of array of different musicians and stuff that I follow on YouTube that, it just keeps me in that headspace. And I try not to, jump into anything that is too distracting, but for the most part, I feel like I can stay focused on the stuff that I'm trying to do by filtering properly, So yeah, I totally agree with you. Especially like newsletters are a big one for me. I subscribe to a lot of newsletters, unsubscribe to a lot too, but those are actually helpful in my inbox, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. I would also recommend for you guys who are looking for work, or if you're not looking for work, is just subscribe to some like job newsletters or stuff like that. Because I'm not looking for something, but looking to see what other orgs do, kind of help me create. Not saying that you're going to make your own job like I did, but it can really help you narrow down what you want to do or what you can do or what you think you want to work towards, because especially since if it's an aggregation, you're going to see stuff that's very similar.
That's great. Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. That's absolutely true. Yeah, there you go. Rubina, who definitely helps other people that are looking for work. She's saying that's a great tip. Okay, well, let me see. I got a couple more questions for you and I got to wrap it up.
Sure.
Let's hear more about some of the other kinds of jobs that you've worked. You were barista. What else you got?
Yeah. I was a barista in an independent coffee place and 2 chains. One of them doesn't exist anymore. I've worked at Walgreens for like 5 years. That put me through grad school for 4 or 5 years, something like that. It was awful, but it definitely made me realize like I can't move up here. People do, and not to bounce it, but it was definitely like not for me, right? It's just not for Nadia job. And that kind of helped me like okay, I can cut all these store jobs out. I'm not doing this anymore. Let's see what's next. I was a contractor for this company called Ricoh, and they make printers, but they also do office services. So I was in office services, and my role would be different every single day. So I would walk into the building, and then they'll tell me, well, Nadia, someone called out, so you have to go right back out there and go to New Jersey, be a receptionist or something, like reception, mailroom, stuff like that. And I hated it. I learned that having to not knowing what your schedule is every day drove me crazy. Or at the very least, I had no control over that. If I can control my own schedule, then that's for me. That's another way, just keep job hopping. Yeah. I was also a contractor at an EPA office where I went through records of decades of Environmental Protection Agency stuff. And they compile information about everything, like every environmental disaster that's involved, but that also includes newspaper clippings, scientist reports, pictures. And I was a document scanner, so I would just have to document. I would have to reach a minimum of a couple of thousand pages a day of just scanning these old clippings and science reports and then making them into PDFs. It was so boring. But again, it was just like, and I was told by people there's no moving up. People just keep on their jobs until they like get too sick or die or retire. So you have to like really think about, and some people are like miserable, and I'm just saying you don't always have to listen to everybody, but get an idea of the work culture when you start these jobs and just really think about, can I be a document scanner for 60 years? Because I have okay health insurance.
Yeah. No, that's totally that's a good one. That's a good one. This is awesome. Okay, one last question, and then we'll close it out. If there's one thing that people should know about you, what is it?
One thing that people should know about me. I mean, that can be so many different things.
I
know. I am a hustler. I will work. I have and done really terrible jobs to keep myself alive. And that's one thing about me, is that I will try my damn hardest to keep going and jumping around. So if something that people should know about me is that I love a challenge and I'm resilient.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you're definitely a solutions person. You know, I just totally get that. Like you come up with answers, and I think that is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. I just want to add in the chat, Kim, you're absolutely right. Someone would love that. And people do love jobs where they can just do the same thing forever. And I actually commend them, because I get so bored that I have to keep jumping. And that's actually not great in certain things. But if you love what you, or not even, if you don't even love what you do, but you know that this job is getting you to do other things that you love, mazel tov, good for you. Keep going. That's great. That's a great quality to have. It is. Totally. So I just wanted to add that. So sorry, please.
No, thank you, Nadia. I really appreciate your time. It was great talking to you. I am very happy that we had this showcase. It was really, really great to talk.
This was great. And thanks again for just having these talks. I really do enjoy them so much, and learning from so many different people. I actually hope that some of the people on here do have member showcase if they haven't already. I believe Rubina had one with you. Rubina, I think I've seen a couple of you got yourself out there. I've seen you on a few different platforms. Yeah. But yeah, for you guys who haven't done a membership showcase, do it.
Yeah.
Get yourself out there.
Bobby's got one scheduled coming up, but yeah, absolutely. I love doing these member showcases. And Nadia, if you ever want to do another broadcast, if you've got anything that you learned that you want to share, I'd love to have you back on a broadcast. I'm sure all the folks that are in chat would appreciate it too. So keep that in mind. You're always welcome to do another one.
Thank you. I look forward to that. I really do. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.